In this video, I'm talking about the 5 most common signs of autism in girls, so that by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how to spot autism in girls. Coming up. Hey guys, welcome back to the TheAspieWorld. My name is Dan. I have autism, ADHD, OCD and dyslexia, and I make weekly videos on this subject. So if you're new around here and you'd like to learn more and really get to terms with everything I'm talking about, remember to hit that subscribe button by clicking the notification bell below so you don't miss out on a video. Also, if you're watching over on Facebook, be sure to give this page a like and a follow to see more videos just like this. Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, I am breaking down 5 most common signs of autism in girls so that you can have a better understanding of it. I'm probably talking about stuff that you've never come across before, so that if you watch all the way to the end, you'll digest all that information, and that's super dope. Guys, if you want to hit me up on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, you can do, because I make content over on those things as well. And if you want to ask me any questions, you can either pop it in a comment down below, because I read and respond to every single one, or you can hit me up on Instagram with a DM. That's also super dope. Okay, so autism in girls. So I know a lot of females, like my friends, who are on the autism spectrum, and we have done a bunch of videos together, which I will leave in a card above here or in the description down below and on the end screen with a playlist of all the videos I've done with girls who are on the spectrum. But I wanted to break down 5 of the top, like, most common signs. So if you're like thinking, hey, is my daughter, my mum, my grandmother, my friend, or whoever on the autism spectrum, because they're female, this video is going to answer that question for you. Okay, so this is all about identifying autism characteristics in females or in girls, and so I'm breaking down like 5 of the most like common ones that I think that are really good, that people probably don't really speak about that often, which is pretty weird, but we're going to cover all that right now. And also, guys, if you think this video is going to be beneficial to anybody else, please tag them in the comments of this video or share this video on Facebook and Twitter, because that would just be super awesome, because we become this whole sharing community of love fueled by people who want to educate other people and help other people out. It's awesome. Right guys, let's get into it. Okay, so the first one here is masking. Now, masking is where someone acts like a different person, takes on a persona, becomes a different kind of, I don't know, personality when they're in social situations. And the reason that the girls on the autism spectrum do this is because girls want to be more social and outgoing and like have that interaction with their peers, but also appear typical in that environment. They don't want to kind of like, you know, they don't want to show their true selves in those situations because they feel like they may be judged or they may be, you know, victimized or whatever, which is an interesting concept because, you know, people on the autism spectrum generally just be themselves, but females on the autism spectrum have this degree of masking, and to a certain extent everybody on the autism spectrum will do masking from time to time because it's a way of coping, like a workaround system. But masking is very, very interesting, and actually is probably the number one cause of why females on the autism spectrum are not diagnosed as quickly as males, because the masking when they're even having their kind of assessment done, because, you know, that's what they're so used to. But I would say that masking is the forefront of the struggle in that environment. When they get home to their comfort environment, then they are going to be faced with more challenges and more struggles because they've been masking all day and pretending to be somebody else. So keep that in mind. Masking is one of the number 1 issues that girls face when they're on the autism spectrum. So yeah, check it out. Okay, so number 2 is selective mutism. Now, selective mutism is exactly what it says on the tin. It's selectively being a mute in certain situations, and usually this will come in the form of, like, say you and your daughter or your best friend who's a girl wants to like order a pizza, and you guys have been chatting away about all kinds of stuff, you know, and you have a really good relationship, but when you order the pizza, she never wants to be the person on the phone ordering the pizza, right? And freaks out if she had to do it, and she would actually prefer not to even order the pizza at all if it meant she had to get on the phone. So she'd rather go without pizza than actually get on the phone and speak to somebody with pizza. This can also happen where if your friend's quite a chatty person in your social circle, and then you introduce them to other friends, and then they're not so chatty, they become quite like quiet and like meek, then again it's like selective mutism, and this is a telltale sign of autism in girls. It's quite a common one to occur in girls, and I feel like selective mutism is more common in females on the spectrum than it is males on the spectrum, and this is why I've included it in this video, because I think it's vitally important that we understand how selective mutism works, and it's most importantly more common in females on the spectrum. Now, number 3 is a really interesting one, and it's a slightly more interesting in females. It's obsessive collection. Now, people on the autism spectrum have obsessive interests. They like the same things, you know, and they'll research the same things, and they love like maybe a specific topic of interest or a genre or something, and they'll research it to death, and they'll know everything about it, every like small minute detail. But the addition when you are dealing with females on the spectrum is they will be an obsessive collector, like an intense collector of those things. So they'll collect all those books from the Twilight Saga, or they'll collect all those books from, like, I don't know, Star Wars or whatever, or a comic book. Or they'll just get really obsessed with it. It could even be a collection of Care Bears or like Beanie Babies. But that's the interesting thing about it. Now, all those mums and dads out there who are watching this video who have a basement and closets full of stuff that their kids collected, you've got to hit that like button. Give this video a like, because you know exactly what I'm talking about. And anybody who's on the spectrum watching this and is like, Dan, I totally relate, and I'm sitting here chuckling, you got to give that video a thumbs up, because it helps me out and it helps me know that you guys are having good fun while watching these. So that's super, super interesting. Okay, number 4, let's get into it. Number 4 is no cuddles. Now, another characteristic of girls on the autism spectrum is the inability to want to be picked up when they were younger. Like, a lot of kids want to be picked up and cuddled and stuff like that, but girls on the autism spectrum, typically when they're really young, when they're like toddlers to kind of like, just before teens, they don't really want to be picked up or cuddled. They don't have that kind of affectional kind of connection, and because of this, they may not really want hugs later on in life. Like, hugging may be something that they're not really into, and this comes from a few different reasons. A lot of the time it's down to a sensory processing disorder, SPD, that comes comorbidly with autism, which means that the sensation of actually being hugged, the light hug, is kind of like an unnerving one. So if you are somebody who understands this, then you may enjoy actually like full pressure hugs, like a quite squeezed hug, compression hug, because it stimulates something called proprioception in the muscles. Now, this is another indicator of somebody on the autism spectrum, especially if they're female and they are not a hugger, never been a cuddler when they were a kid. This is super interesting, and if you're like sitting there ticking all these off right now, then this is why, because you're now understanding and learning a bit more about that person that who is now, from your knowledge, on the spectrum. But also, if you are thinking somebody's on the spectrum, you should definitely check out an official diagnosis or an official assessment, because that's the protocol to take. Okay, so number 5 is difficulty in following instructions. Now, we all have instructions in life, in school, in work, at home. Even when you're trying to cook something, there may be instructions for cooking, but people on the autism spectrum, especially females, will have difficulty following these instructions all the way through, and this is an executive function issue and a really big deal, because you may be a really bright student, a really good student in class, but then when you come home and you're trying to make ramen noodles, you may not be able to understand the packet, and this is all to do with the way the brain communicates communication and translates that into your brain as a way of thinking, okay, I need to appropriately do this in a certain order. It's kind of a bit mismatched in the autism brain, but it could be it's a larger issue. There's so much you can do therapeutically wise to help with things like this, or there's apps available to help with this. But not diverting from the subject here, the difficulty in following instructions is a huge ASD symptom, especially for autism in girls, because they are more they're going to be around more organizational type of things. I don't know why, but girls seem to be way more organized than males just in general. So when you're around more organization, then you're also around more instructions, and it's harder to follow. So if you're recognizing all of these things and highlighting, these things have highlighted to you that the person maybe on the autism spectrum, maybe it would be a good thing to maybe get them checked out and maybe go to an assessment or something if you want access to help, therapy, support, all that kind of stuff. It's definitely accessible when you have an official diagnosis. So guys, those were my 5 top and most common signs of autism in girls. If you have any to add, please pop them in a comment down below. I'd love to do that. And also, if you think this video can help somebody, please share it. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And I'll see you in the next video, guys. Peace.